Last time I spoke about dyslexia and how it affects learning, the broader view of what dyslexia is, and how maybe you can possibly see it in learners. Now I want to narrow down and look at the specifics, how it affects the actual literacy skills. Now, remember that dyslexia mainly affects the processing of information. So it's about the processing and the recalling of auditory and visual information. What you see and what you hear is that's the information that is affected mainly uh, by dyslexia. So since it affects what you hear and what you see, and these are the skills that we need, this is the information we need for the literacy skills. So it then affects the acquisition of the literacy skills. That is, if you are talking about writing skills, the reading skills, and the spelling skills, this is what literacy is about. And then dyslexia will affect those because it affects the processing of information, or the processing and the recalling of auditory and visual information. So I want to narrow down and look at those literacy skills, but within those skills, I want to focus mainly on the writing skills and look at someone who is maybe at a secondary school, and how are they affected by this? Now, as I speak about this, don't think if you see a student with that and then think, oh, this one should be dyslexic, or this one is something like that. Further tests may be needed. So this is not a test. This is how you can see the one who is dyslexic, how they are affected. How is a person who is dyslexic affected uh, in on their writing skills, right? So let's look at that secondary school student, and let's look at how they are affected by dyslexia, or this dyslexic. How are they affected in their writing skills? So number one, they've got a lot of ideas. If you're discussing, okay, let's say this is a class discussion, they have lots of ideas, very brilliant ideas. But then the problem they have is putting those things down on paper. For them, it is hard work. They can not commit those things to paper. So you may find, okay, but this student was very good when we were discussing this, but then what happened? Why couldn't they put it down on paper? So for them, it is hard work. They can not commit those things to paper. So what then will happen is either they will write very little. So you may find that someone who is dyslexic will not write a great deal. So they will just write straight to the point. So they cannot write these long essays. For them, that is kind of difficult thing to do. So that's how the skills are affected. Someone said if learning was mainly about showing creativity or about reasoning, then someone who is dyslexic will be top of the class. But then actually it happens the other way for them. So it becomes quite a challenge because they have to write these things, and then writing these things actually is a problem for them. They cannot commit those ideas to writing. If then for the second one, which is linked to that, if you find someone who can write, okay, they try to write a lot, they lose the thread. For them, most of them, if they try to write a lot of things, they lose the thread. The idea they start off writing, maybe let's say on a story, they're writing a story or they're writing an essay. What the idea they have at first gets lost somehow within the storyline. Then you find they were talking about this thing at the start of their write up. Then somewhere in the middle, or somewhere as they get to the end, they are lost as to what they are actually talking about. And then you find that, okay, this person is actually writing something that they didn't actually want to write. So they got lost somehow. So those are the two things you can see, especially in their written work. The ideas, putting the ideas on paper for them is actually very difficult. Then the third thing that you can maybe see will be uh, messy writing. Let's say that piece of work, they are trying to write maybe something on a piece of paper. You'll find many words cancelled out. they're not sure of the spellings, they cross out quite a lot of things. It becomes very messy. So that is one of the third thing you can see. Okay, they're not sure if this spelling is correct or it's not correct. They cross out this, they write something else different, they cross it out as well. So that is, you find that quite a lot of crossing out of work, some cancelling of some words, quite a number of them in a piece of work. Then that is how it manifests itself. That's the third thing. Then the fourth thing that maybe you can look at here is the poor handwriting. Okay, badly shaped letters. Okay, for them, okay, you the letters are just they don't put much care into writing, so the shaping of the letters is actually quite a challenge for them. So it is difficult. And then those who try, actually those who are dyslexic and want to try to write, they put in a lot of effort in writing, and they will produce neat, very neat handwriting. You will think maybe this is a computer, but then it's actually handwritten. That work is actually handwritten, but they are putting a lot of effort in trying to write that. Okay, to compensate for this other side of this work that is very badly shaped letters. So then they get to the other extreme of shaping the letters very nice, but then they get to be very slow. Okay? Very nice shaped letters, but very slow, because all the effort is now being taken into trying to write in a proper way. So that is how it actually then affect the writing skills of these individuals. Okay, then the next thing, that they spell the same word differently. You may find that the same word is spelled different from start. Okay, let's say from the start of their writing, of their write-up, they spell, let's say the word friend. Okay, Friend. For them, that is friend. Okay, somewhere as they get to maybe let's say some lines down, they spell that same word differently. The I and the E are interchanged. That friend has the I and E interchanged. Okay, so they started off writing it correctly. Then now they've changed how they write it. Further down again, you find that maybe they wrote the same word, but let's say this time they forgot the I. So it's the friend without an I. So the one word is spelled differently in one piece of work. So it's not that they are lazy. It's not that they are not thinking, but it's for them, their brains, they do not save that word. That word is not saved in their brain. Every time they try to write that, they have to think how it is written down. So that is how it then affects their learning, how it affects their writing skills. So that is the other thing that you can see in someone who is dyslexic. Then the next thing will be difficulty in punctuation and grammar. Okay. You'll find that they are missing full stops, they are missing commas. The punctuation actually is very bad in that maybe write up or in a piece of work, in a piece of written work. You may find that the lowercase letters, the uppercase letters, they forget, maybe let's say at the start of a sentence, to write in uppercase. For them, the main focus is on trying to get the spellings correct, and then they forget about the grammar and the punctuation, because the, in their brain power at the moment is being consumed, is being taken out by the spellings. They want to get the spellings right, and then they forget about the grammar. They forget about the punctuation. It's not that they are they are being silly in some way, but that is what they actually can manage to do at that particular time. So that is how it affects their writing skills. And then the last thing I want to talk about in the writing skills is, as maybe in a class the teacher is explaining something. For them, they are not able to take notes. They cannot take notes at the same time listening to what the teacher is saying. The focus of their brain should be also actually on one thing at a time. So they can listen maybe and then write later, or they can just listen, but they cannot manage to listen and then take notes at the same time, because the focus now will be on, remember, the spellings are a problem. they will now want to recall, how do I spell this word that was said, and then trying also to listen to the teacher. For them, that is hard work, so they cannot manage to do that, right? So these are some of the things that you can actually, these are some of the things that are affected in a student who is dyslexic. The writing skills are affected. Again, I'll say, this is not a comprehensive list of the writing skills that are affected in a learner who is dyslexic. But then, do not use this and say, okay, if I see this, it means, okay, this is that. But tests will be needed to actually prove that this person is dyslexic. But this comes close to actually seeing that this person may be dyslexic and may need some intervention. Okay, so next time I will talk about the reading. How is the reading? How are the reading skills affected in someone who is dyslexic? Thank you for listening.